What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And this one I want to talk about what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple more tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with the economic data and why Tesla is actually dropping the way it is, because we got some negative news that came out and it's continuing to make lots of headlines. But before I break things down about what's going on with the market, before I talk about why on earth Tesla has invalidated some of these bullish signals it had, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. So anyways, what's going on with Tesla, guys? Tesla was holding up very nicely in the morning, breaking above this yellow trendline of resistance, and we continued to hold above it as the day went on. After the first 1.5 hours, Tesla ended up breaking below the trend line, and we were still in decent territory at the time, but then we started to sell off more aggressively as we saw some negative news come out. So did Tesla have some strength in the beginning? Yes, it was holding up very nicely, and then we ended up failing. We ended up getting this big rejection because of all this negative news that's come out. So I wanted to actually talk about what the news is saying, why this is negative for Tesla, and some very important supports to be watching for, and why on earth this stock ended up flipping just like shortly after it actually broke out of this resistance. So when it comes to economic data for the markets, everything was quite decent. This was all decent news except for the 7-year notes auction, a little bit below expectations, not really affecting the markets that much. And then for tomorrow, we just have some minor data, and that's going to be pretty much it for the year. Now, as a reminder, SPY is green. It's holding up nicely. Okay, Aapl is green, holding up decently. QQQ is just holding up. It's still decent, and Nvda is holding up. So normally, Tesla should have held up on a day like this. The market is not causing Tesla to drop. Tesla is dropping on its own. Why is Tesla dropping so hard? Well, I started to see a lot of negative headlines being regurgitated and repeated over and over and over again from mainstream news outlets. And this is very, very important. So this news came out yesterday. Technically, this was yesterday evening. This news came out. 2 U.S. senators called for Tesla recalls after the Reuters investigation. However, this didn't really make the headlines. We're talking about CNBC. We're talking about all these other articles out there, all these other news outlets. This didn't really start to show until earlier on today. So CNBC is reporting this. We're seeing this on like Yahoo Business, and the list goes on. This was updated today, just a little bit after the market opened. The senators are saying that Tesla has suspension issues. Tesla has lots of these problems, and they're criticizing Elon Musk. And they're saying that after the Reuters investigation, Tesla has to recall, lots of its vehicles, at least 120,000 more of them. So that's some big news that has come out. And although this news technically came out yesterday, it's making a lot of headlines today as having another effect on Tesla. Another news outlet known as Inside EVs is saying Tesla refutes the suspension issue as the U.S. senators ask for a recall. This is once again pretty big. This is very important because Tesla was trying to refute the claim about how it's blaming its customers for the issues. I actually went over this yesterday. Tesla put this on Twitter that they're being accused by like certain news outlets for just forcibly blaming the drivers for the issues that we're seeing. But in the reality of the situation is Tesla has a warranty that's covered the majority of the costs for the drivers, and they're not really blaming them. At least they claim they're not. So once again, Tesla had a really, really good way of defending themselves, but the headlines are still coming out, and they're still saying, and there's still a lot of fingers being pointed at Tesla, that there are lots of suspension-related problems in the cars. They're unsafe. There's a lot of danger driving them, and they're continuing to say this. And now we have U.S. senators getting involved, which is some big news. We know that senators have power, and they're going to make a lot of headlines. So it's still hurting Tesla, despite the fact that Tesla tried to refute this claim. Right over here, I'm going to go over the last article that's saying this. The news says it right here. These senators demand Elon Musk recalls Tesla, slam him for blaming safety issues on driver abuse and this and that. They're saying that's very disturbing for him to blame his customers, which from what I found is not entirely the truth. But like I said before, guys, these extreme concerns are just continuing to hurt Tesla. They're also looking at reports from the NHTSA about some safety issues, and they're bringing back a lot of the old articles about how there were lots of these Tesla quote-unquote recalls, which were fixed by the software updates anyway. So it's just insane stuff that's going on. They're once again talking about power steering issues, suspension issues, and things like that. More things which are unsafe for Teslas. There's also this news that came out yesterday, but it's still making a lot of headlines. Still, even CNBC and etc. are talking about this. A Tesla robot attacked an engineer. It was very, very bad. This once again came out yesterday, but it's starting to make more and more headlines today. But this is manipulation because what's interesting is they're showing a picture of the Optimus bot, but this had nothing to do with Optimus because when you actually look at the article, this says that the incident happened in 2021 when an engineer was programming two assembly robots before something went wrong. He ended up getting quote unquote attacked by it, and he ended up getting very hurt. So that's very sad to hear. I want the best for him and his family. I want the best for any Tesla employees. I want them to stay safe. But it was not the Optimus bots like these articles are making it seem. So all this bad news is coming out over and over again. Some of the news came out yesterday, but it's being regurgitated, and this is causing Tesla to heavily underperform. Very unfortunate, but let's hope that Tesla tries to find its bottom very, very soon. So what happened to Tesla? We had this yellow trend line acting as support. We were supposed to hold this, and we ended up getting a big rejection below this. This would be our bearish case. I did warn you guys that if we lost 260, watch 258, then we have like another support all the way down to 255. If anything for Tesla, it ended up getting this big rejection. All this bad news came out. It's unfortunate, and it ended up invalidating a lot of these bullish signals because what could have happened to Tesla, what should have happened was we basically held here, came down like this. I was talking about this. I want to see this just hold up like this, try to maintain these levels, maintain this level, just like how the market's maintaining its levels. SPY and QQQ, they're holding up. Tesla is very weak because of all this negative piece of news, all this noise coming out, and that is what invalidated these signals, unfortunately. So it is what it is, guys. We can't really control the mainstream news outlets, but we can react to the charts. I'm also very sorry I wasn't available to give you guys a warning about this. I was very busy earlier today, but if anything, we can still go over what's going on and what you should be watching for. So for Tesla, watch support at 254. 254 is going to be our key support right now. For resistance, we have 256 to 256.5, 258, and then 260 above that. Now, we're just barely holding 254 right now. If we lose this, we could come all the way down to 252, then 250 below that. So watch these levels very, very carefully. Another thing we could do is look at the 4-hour time frame, and you will see that Tesla is not SPY, Tesla right over here. It's still very close to that EMA right here, the 50 EMA at 253.62, very close to 254. That is our support right now, the 50 EMA on the 4-hour time frame. Watch that very carefully. Tesla's looking a bit weaker with all this negative news, though, so just be careful and watch and see if we can try to base very close to the EMA. If it fails to hold support right over there, it's going to be coming down to 252, unfortunately. So watch it carefully. Lots of bad news is coming out. It's making Tesla look, very, very weak. So we'll just have to see how it goes. Unfortunately, it's looking weak with all this noise and all these negative headlines. For SPY, we have a rising wedge that's forming. But the thing about SPY is that we're basically stuck right now. We're very stationary, going back and forth in this 477 range. And we're going to likely continue to do so for the end of the day. To turn bearish, you want to see it lose 476.5. If that fails, it's 476 is next. And then we have 475. Resistance you're going to be watching. Resistance at 477.5, then we have 478, then 480. As of right now, it's looking kind of weak. It's been on a nice uptrend, but it's still looking kind of weak. If we lose support right over here, we could see a break from this ascending wedge. I would say that sometime in 2024, at the latest, it should be coming in early 2024. So sometime in January, it should be coming. And we'll see if it happens tomorrow or not. But as of right now, it's very stationary. It might just hold up for the time being. And then for resistance, watch 478. So it's going to be stuck in this range for today. We'll see if there's a break going into tomorrow. But as of right now, it's holding up. For the triple Q, it's the same thing. I mean, this is descending a bit because of Nvda and Tesla. You could even argue we're starting to break from this wedge, but we may not get the full break down to 408 until sometime in 2024. And we're likely going to see the market actually close on a high note. So I think we're going to try to hold up for the time being, at least for tomorrow, as it's going to be the last trading day of the year. But then there could be more downside coming later on in the future. So just be very, very careful in looking at these charts. Okay, so watch this 412 area. We might just shuffle around 412 for the time being, in my opinion. Going into tomorrow, we might hold up too, but then later on, going into 2024, which is going to start, the trading is going to start on Tuesday since the market is closed on Monday. That's when things could start to turn bearish, so just be a little bit careful. With a rising wedge on the triple Q, we're kind of shuffling around 412. If we fail there, there's going to be 411 as support. If that fails us, then we have 410. As of right now, it's going to likely shuffle into 412, so watch that very carefully. As far as Nvidia goes, I would say that Nvidia is looking quite decent overall. We have a nice ascending wedge right here going back and back and forth between supply and demand. Going to be looking for a balance. We're going to be watching to see if we can get to 498 to 500 very, very soon. As of right now, we're holding up quite decently. I like the fact that Nvidia is trying to hold, but here's the thing about Nvidia. I told you all that Nvidia should be testing 498 to 500. We actually reached that today. We hit 499 today and then rejected. So it reached our targets. I think that this is where the top is going to be for Nvidia. Could we get one more bounce up here and then we reject later on to get our retracement from the rising wedge? Or does Nvidia break down as soon as tomorrow? I believe very soon there's going to be a pullback coming. We could hold up for one more day, try to hold this wedge before the pullback comes. But that's what I'm seeing for Nvidia. We reached our target. We're still looking decent, and we're still within the realm of this ascending wedge. So watch it very carefully. Make sure you watch support at 495. If we fail there's going to be 492, then 490, and 488. If we lose this, we're going to turn more bearish. If we try to push up higher, 498 to 500 has some tight resistance. It is possible it tries to push a little bit more and holds up for another day or so before we get the pullback. I still favor that, at least for Nvidia. For Aapl, we had some bullish news come out about how it got a victory in the Court of Appeals, but it didn't actually get a nice breakout at the same time. So it is trying to break out of this ascending wedge, but it got stopped and it's kind of stuck between 194.4 and 193.5 as support. So this is basically, 194.4 is resistance and then 193.5 is support. Going back and forth, very stationary, very stuck right now. We'll have to watch and see which way we break. But as of right now, Aapl is just stuck. We're going to be looking for a bigger move in 2024 to start us off, but this is what Aapl is doing. Nothing too crazy is going on with the chart. It's just stuck between supply and demand, at least for the intraday basis. So watch these levels. I think it's going to be stuck like this for the rest of the day. Then we'll be talking more about this later on. But that's it for this video, guys. I hope this video was helpful. I hope this was insightful about what's going on with Tesla. I am sorry that Tesla was holding up nicely in the beginning, but then we got all this bad news coming out about the recall, criticism about Elon Musk, the robot attacking an engineer, and all this bad news. So make sure you watch support. We have 252 coming. 250 is some supports, and below that we have 247. Just as a reminder, it's looking kind of weak. We invalidated a lot of these signals, and things like this happen, right? It's just a part of trading, so we have to accept it, and we'll do better next time. Don't worry, guys. Things are going to be just fine for Tesla. We will see what happens, especially going into tomorrow. All right, thank you. Have a great day, and peace out.